Hi, I'm Kathy Johnson, and welcome to Town Talk. The beautiful music that you're hearing in the background is my son Robert W. Johnson, and he's playing an original composition on his acoustic. And I'd like to just take a moment to hear him play through it one more time, and then we'll interview Robert.
Oh, one more time? Sure.
One more time, Robert. Very nice, Robert. I wanted to have Robert on the show because we have talked so many times about brain injury and how survivors of brain injury. And my Robert is a 16-year survivor of a brain injury. His accident was in 1998, summer of 98 in July. And I thought I'd have Rob on the program and have him talk about himself a little bit. I'll give him a small introduction. Robert, I'm going to forget he's my son for a minute. If I were introducing him and he weren't my son, I would say Robert is what you would call a true Renaissance man. He was gifted with many talents, among them writing skills, musician, actor, model, fine artist, and dancer, and yes, he can sing a little. And so that's why I thought I'd have him on the show. We talk a lot about brain injury and how I advocate for it, and how we advocate for the Acquired Brain Injury Waiver Program 1 that Robert's been in for 15 years, and how far people come with that program. And having said that now, I want to turn the focus on Robert as a person with many talents who is a survivor of brain injury and how he feels about that. We'll talk with Robert. So Robert, thank you for coming on the show with me. Thank you. Your mother appreciates it.
Well, same to you.
You're welcome. Robert, I'm going to let you begin. What would you like to tell everyone about brain injury and what you know of it as a person who has survived a brain injury?
Well, I hope people understand that it is different for all times, all people, anyway.
Right, it happens differently
it's
for
never
everyone.
The same. You say, oh, you heard of brain injury. Well, you know all like exactly what happened to each person. No, it's completely different either way, no matter what.
Right. Now, how was it different for you? What was your experience, Robert, when you first were aware of the world around you? You know, how far back can you remember from the time your accident? Just fill us in on what you feel, that's all.
Well, as though I was a baby again. I was I had to, I had to remember words, or able to talk, able to write, understanding between, you say the birds and the bees,
Right, right.
To just, I couldn't, I had to put it all back in my head. And then eventually, when I realized what happened to me, it's, I got, I got, the quote unquote average dream came true. A bad dream.
You came to the realization. There was a point in your, I remember the years as they went by, and it took. You kept improving, as I remember, for the whole 16 years, and you still are. That you realized that you had been injured. That was a big awakening for you, but that was also a step in the right direction. How did you feel when you realized that there was something wrong with you, that you weren't quite the way you should be, or whatever went through your mind?
Well, of course, the sadness was in,
Yeah, yeah.
Me. But, and the realization about the human body, to understand and find out what is wrong with me, and to understand some people, most of the other people remember, say, when your first driver's license, understanding where you were and what happened. Me, no. It's gone.
It was like really being born again.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Yeah. What's it like now for you today?
Today? Well, today I'm on a wonderful television show.
Yes, you are. You've got that right. You better say it's wonderful, Robert. Yes.
Well, I'd say it to you, but that's all. No, things are, well, most is going good for me, but my art.
Oh,
will
yes.
say that.
Yes.
And started the art, and I go to Manhattan. Before it was, for say, once a week, but now because of the cold weather, it's different now.
Twice a month, maybe.
Yeah.
Not so often.
Yes.
But at least once a month.
Yeah, and I've had I've had some galleries in Brooklyn and Manhattan about my paintings, and I do have one in April.
Oh, a show coming up in April? In Manhattan?
Yes, in Manhattan. It's the Pancakes and Booze.
Oh, Pancakes and Booze. That is I understand that's a very popular show in Manhattan. And what do? You have to submit your paintings, and
Yes.
they decide if you can be part of the show?
Yes.
Yes.
And they did.
And they picked you.
Yes.
And then I think you had a show in Chelsea, and yes,
All right.
and one in Boston a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Right. You enjoy Manhattan, Robert?
Oh,
What's it like to be in Manhattan?
what? Are you joking? Yes, I wish Manhattan is, for me, and not for all people,
Right.
but for me, it's who I am. Just going there and all what I want to think about, what I want to do, and where to go, what time is there.
It's in your soul, huh? It's in your soul. I know you love it. I know you love it.
Yeah.
So, we have one of your paintings here
Sure.
called Medea.
Yeah.
usually in an art show, there'll be people come up to you and say, you know, what were you thinking when you did this painting? I know you like to do abstract, but we have some other examples of your work here. Can you tell me any of your thoughts about this painting? First of all, I love the colors in it.
Oh,
I think they're beautiful.
thanks. This one, it's a frightened thought.
A frightened thought.
Yeah, as though someone is standing in an unknown area or around all different types of, for say, someone from, I don't know, we'll say Ohio, when all of a sudden, like, voila, they went to Manhattan, and there's all the people in the
Confusion.
you know, so.
And that's, that kind of tweaks my mind, that's a little bit of a metaphor for what you've gone through. Being confused.
Actually, when you put it all together, yes, it is the same. As I have gone to another country to had to relearn their language, relearn all as though I did.
Well, I might interject for our TV audience that Robert's injury was he had 2 blood clots, one between the outside of the skull, you know, and then one in the brain, and the one in his brain was over his left temple, and that's where you retrieve words. He also had extensive frontal lobe damage, which he had to overcome with, that's where you have your inhibitions and you learn to hold your temper and get along with people.
At least that I was able to that grew back up into my mind.
Yes, it did.
Didn't have to,
and I can recall, so that people in the audience can put it together a little bit, I can recall that it was a scary thing because nobody knows how long the brain will heal and how far a person will come. As you said, Robert, it's a different for everyone, depending on the injury and depending on everything. And we've been very fortunate as parents, Wayne and I, my husband, and the family, that Robert his brain has improved consistently every year. We don't know when it stops or what, but as you can see, Robert is using the talents he had that nature or God has given him, and he utilizes them. So, Robert, we'll get back to your art. I always wanted this painting. I keep bothering you that I want it for the kitchen because it matches the other big one that you did that I have in the kitchen. But I only have it on loan. I had that beautiful one in the bedroom that you sold in Boston for a decent sum of money there. It was a fundraiser for charity. So I lost that one. They liked that one enough to want it.
So sorry.
So sorry, yes. So now, Robert, let's talk some more about you. Where do you see yourself in the future? Tell us all the things you're doing and keeping busy with.
In the future? It seems as though I'll be an artist more on a higher step, you know, higher level than, you know, I'm not sure if I'll be one of those, you know, earth famous artists, you know.
Yes.
But at least you know, living in Manhattan, it seems as though I will get there.
That's your goal, to live in Manhattan.
And then I may become other thoughts, you know, the painting and my acting may begin again then.
Well, you know, you mentioned acting. I know as your mom, and you probably don't remember this, but you did Shakespeare.
Yeah.
You played Oberon in Midsummer Night's Dream, and you played Rodrigo in Othello. and some local plays in New Haven. You were with the Algonquin Players. And then after your brain injury, you were with the some Renaissance players that were doing a fundraiser, and you were one of the dancers with the old minuet, or the old-fashioned Renaissance dancing. But recently, I guess a couple of years ago, you actually got a small acting part at Yale, did you not?
Yes.
Yes. Can you tell us a little about that one?
Put it all in my mind and try to remember all of it.
Well, think about it.
I was one of the people at a barn.
Mm-hmm.
We were seeing a bunch of pigs.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm not completely remembering.
Did you remember going into the elevator up the stairs and you read your part?
Yes.
Yes.
And that's when that day I went in when there's a whole bunch of people there that they were not told that I was going to be there. So, and they had no clue. I came in, and most of them weren't even looking, didn't have any understanding. I went in, I walked inside, sat down, and went in one place, and when they were all talking, I started just talking in a louder type words, and they eventually started talking to me. Well, not I began to talk, saying what I was, and they all looking at me like, oh, and that was about like when it was all together, for say 1 minute.
You were speaking for a minute, yes.
Yeah, and then I just walked out the room, walked away.
and I'll fill it in a little bit. It was a woman who was getting another degree at Yale in the arts, and she was looking for someone with a little bit of a speech problem or maybe a hearing, and it was part of her grade, and there were professors and other students in that room, and not expecting you to walk in and begin the play.
No.
And that's where she put you in as part of the play. So Robert did get to act just a little bit. But we'll get back to your painting now and whatever else you want to talk about. Shall we show some of your artwork?
Sure.
All right, we can take Medea down.
Sure.
Which, if you can grab it, yes. Let's take Medea down, and very carefully, because we never know when someone sees that and decides they want it for their home. Okay? And
if you want it, anyone can take it.
Well, I think I'll take it home with me today and hang it in the kitchen unless somebody wants it for their art.
You have another place in the kitchen? I know.
I do, yes I do.
Oh, you do?
I do. I can always find a wall for anything that you create, Robert.
Sure.
So now which one would you like to show first? Would you like to show one of your portraits? Sure. We'll talk about the Indians, because that's near and dear to your heart.
Sure.
Let's put this in. Does this Indian have a name? Does the painting? Did you put a name on the back of it? Let's check that out.
I know this is.
What are you calling that? Oh,
hostility.
Hostility. Okay, this is hostility.
Yeah, he was not.
Well, he looks a little grumpy.
With the what?
Well, with what he went through as an Indian.
Arrived, and what is this? Oh no, because so many people went and changed their life, took their life away.
The Indians.
Yes.
So of course he's angry.
Yeah.
He's saying, yeah. Now Indians are dear to your heart. I mean, you did join the Algonquin Players, which you had to have a little Indian blood in you years ago in New Haven. It was people that had a little bit of Indian or full-blooded Indians, and I'm trying to think of the name of the director and the founder of that. Was it Black Eagle or
Marty
Black
Eagle Carl.
Marty Black Eagle Carl. He's probably still on Facebook or the computer. Yeah. But anyway, that was the director who did the Shakespeare.
He used to be in New Haven, now he lives in Massachusetts.
He lives in Massachusetts, last we heard. Okay. So Tell us why you're fond of Indians.
Just the way it was, the type of foods and the types of their life was before all happened. Say before England began
To come here.
come here.
Oh, and the settlers from America, yeah.
And the types of foods they had and the amount they were more by themselves then. And there was no need to having, as though now having to stop, make sure you don't walk across the road where there's no car. There was no thought. They didn't have any thought about that. Or just make sure a horse is not running.
They would get run over by a horse or a buffalo.
All right, there you go.
Well, they had their problems,
Yeah.
but they had their life, and it was a beautiful life for them. And then they were invaded. They fought hard to keep their land.
Well.
And what would you like to talk about your heritage?
My heritage, sure.
Yes.
And the heritage is, if you want to know, the Seminole Indians
Yes.
in Florida.
Yes.
They began in, I don't remember the state.
Out west.
No.
And then they went
above
to
Florida.
above Florida, and then they went to
The
Florida.
state above Florida,
Uh-huh.
next to the water there.
Yes.
And when the England they had to skedaddle,
When the English, that's us, the American-speaking people, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They began, and eventually they went down to the bottom of Florida, near the Keys,
Yeah, and the Everglades there too.
Everglades.
Yeah. And why? I guess you feel like you're one of them. And how are you one of them?
Well, my hair.
Your hair. Yes, but you do have a little Indian blood in you.
I do, and I think that's in my mind. That's why I like the little. See, that's strange because I'm the Manhattan type person, although in my mind, I understand and know how to be normal, or I know how to find the foods, or where to sleep, or where to.
You know how to be in the woods, huh?
Without
Yeah.
a house or money or things like that.
Yeah, you can live off the wilderness
Yeah,
if you have to.
yeah.
I think that came from your father.
And I wouldn't be.
You wouldn't be surprised.
surprised at all.
Now,
about that.
what I'm getting at, Robert, and you know this, that you have Seminole Indian in you on your father's side.
Yeah.
My husband Wayne has his great-great-grandmother was a full-blooded Seminole Indian.
Or was it my great-great-grandmother?
Well, no, it was Wayne's father's grandmother.
Yeah.
Asmund Jasper Johnson, your grandfather. It was his grandmother, and it was your father's great-grandmother, and it was your great-great-great-grandmother.
No, I thought
3 greats.
2 greats?
Or maybe 3.
It was 2.
Well, I'm getting confused, and
Because
that's easy for me to
It's
do.
my grandfather's grandmother,
Whatever.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There you go. Okay. All right, but remember, it's your father's great-grandmother, and you're the
right.
next one. Okay.
My great-grandmother.
At any rate, I don't know what her first name was. That got lost.
I don't remember.
But I know that you have her hands, because I saw one. I've seen one picture.
You seen
the hands, yes,
picture of her hands?
and some of the facial features. But so we have both my boys have a little Seminole Indian in them, and then of course you're of Greek and Italian heritage.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
And Greek, Italian, Scottish.
Oh yes, that's right. The lady that was the Seminole Indian, her husband married that woman's daughter, and her name was Mary Alice. And the man she married, her mother was the Seminole Indian. The man she married was named, I think, Macbeth or Macduff, and they were from probably Scotland or in that Irish area there. So yes, you're right about that. So we have your grandfather named Asmund Jasper Johnson. We have Macduff Johnson, Macbeth Johnson, some of the cousins, and one of the cousins has a Everglades tour, and they call him Speed. He's in Florida, and he gives tours of the Everglades.
Is that truly in my family, or is he just?
He's like a cousin 3 times removed or something. I don't know. It's complicated. But anyway, we'll get back to what Robert's doing with his life. So now this is a beautiful example of the fact that you can do other things besides abstract. We have another abstract here that is getting, now I'm told by Robert's independent living skills teacher, which is part of Robert's program, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how Robert got this far. He got this far because of the ABI Waiver 1 program, which which the powers that be, I won't blame every legislator, are trying to destroy this program, which without it, Robert would have probably, thank goodness he had a family and all, but would have been warehoused in a convalescent home probably most of his life and never gotten this far.
It sounds strange, as though my grandfather.
Yeah.
Did
well, no,
slightly,
no, your grandfather was never in a convalescent home. He died young, but
I know,
but you had an aunt there and a great grandfather there. All right, so now we're going to put this one up, Robert. And this one, I'm told by the people in the art world, is what Manhattan looks like, and this is, Robert has brought him up to another level of abstract art. And so, Robert, I have to ask you, what is this? What is it? Oh, this is from your brothers and sisters grouping.
Yes.
You have a whole grouping that has this theme in it, and they could all go together on the same wall. So this is from brothers and sisters. So now what were you thinking about this?
It's as though there's someone at their house, and unknown who. So it's the scared feeling of someone new has arrived
to the house.
Oh, and it's, if you can see.
This looks like a person.
Yeah.
They're upside down, kind of.
Yes, you see hiding, finding somewhere to hide, and wondering when it will be finished, when the time that person will leave.
Oh, I see, and I see you have like Roman numerals here, like on a clock.
Yes.
Okay, and then are these 2 eyeballs?
Yes. See?
And a mouth?
Yeah.
And so this is like
the scared feeling.
A scared feeling. I would have to say, Robert, not that I want to read into everything that you do, but that looks like a metaphor about what your life's been like, kind of like brain injury.
It could have been. See, my mind, that's so much in my mind, because people say that, oh, it's good, it was 16 years ago. No. It will never, ever fly away from my mind.
It's always there.
And when I think about it, and the way my face is, and if you want to, I don't know what they're called.
Your palsy.
Yeah, and my.
Oh, and your ears, yes.
The ear.
Yeah, the little bones in your ears. When Robert, on impact, when he was thrown from a truck, he was riding in the bed of a pickup truck. One summer evening with his bunch of his friends. They thought it was neat that everybody couldn't fit in the truck, so Robert and his cousin were in the back of the truck. Truck hit another car. Robert was thrown out, and when he impacted the ground, or either the truck hit him, we don't know, as it was rolling over or whatever. Robert broke all the bones in both his inner ears. I'm not going to mention doctors' names, but I will say that a very skillful ENT doctor was able to operate on him after he came out of Gaylord. He was in Gaylord for 7 months, was able to operate on him and replace implants with some of the bones, and that's why Robert can hear us today, and he can hear. His palsy was an unfortunate situation. Scar tissue was building up around his 7th facial nerve, and nobody realized it right away. We just didn't know why his face was drooping. And they did an operation when he came home from Gaylord, and his face used to droop all the way down to his chin. But he's greatly improved. He can't smile, very little, and I know mothers, that's one of the first things your baby does when you love when they smile at you. But Robert has a very unique way of smiling. Because you were a comedian, when you were an actor, you did stand-up comedy and all. I know you would show everyone how you smile. Your old way of smiling. Go ahead, smile, Rob. Rob, I know you're. Yeah, listen, I'm not trying to make you fool, but he loves to fool around. Rob loves to fool around. He did a lot of comedy. He had a TV show. Your TV show named. Oh, stop that. Your TV show. What was the name of your television show?
Eat at Joe's.
Now you remember that show because we have it on film. So you've watched yourself on it. You were the MC.
Yeah.
You were the announcer. It was like a Saturday Night Live thing where there was sketch comedy. And Robert wrote the sketches along with his cousin Nick Martin. And Robert, when he went to school in Oxford. He was in Oxford for all of his life. He went through the whole school system there, and then he went off to Holy Cross, and later on transferred to Seymour High School. But when he was in 4th grade with Mrs. Morrow in Oxford, she recognized that he had writing talent. And I thought that she was just being nice until I read his little book that all the kids did in 4th grade and his little illustrations in it, and I was shocked that my son really could write like that as a 4th grader. I had taken some English lit lessons at Quinnipiac College and knew I knew excellent writing from fair writing, and I could see he had some talent. And then in 7th and 8th grade, Mrs. Sponheimer up at the Great Oak Middle School, she recognized that he had great writing ability, and my wish for him as a mother was to become a creative writer and a journalist, whatever. So Robert wrote those skits, and some of them were really funny. I think one of the funniest ones was Uncle Sleepy. Do you remember Uncle Sleepy on your show? You would dress up like Uncle Sleepy, and he was a narcoleptic storyteller. He'd fall asleep in the middle of the story, wake up and start telling a risque story in front of children, and then have to catch himself. And then you were the April Fool's prankster, yes. So anyway, we'll go on with the art. I digress. No. Sorry, I digress, Robert. I complicate the issue all the time. So this, I'm told by your independent living skills teacher that whose father was an artist and whose wife is a writer and who has a relative that's writing for a screenplay for Steven Spielberg in California there. He tells me that your abstract art is starting to become more mature. And these were the paintings that went into one of the higher end shows in New York. And now I think your independent living skills teacher is trying to bring you along to start having more depth into your paintings and start bringing your painting up to a point where you'll get into some of the even more important galleries, elevating yourself as an artist. And I know you've already made some art friends in Manhattan, and they already know who you are. So you can tell us a little bit about that. You paint every single day, don't you, Rob?
Yes, I do. not the 6-8 hours a day.
Right.
And it may sound strange, but most of the famous painters or some of the artists, they begin painting, let's say, I don't know, 9, they always do the 9 to 5,
9 to 5. They paint every day like a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they need to get more, to get, to sell some paintings.
Sure.
It's like working for them.
Sure. I suppose for every 10 paintings you make, 1 or 2 of those will be accepted into a gallery or whatever. So now what are you working on now? What are you trying to accomplish in your artwork right now?
More my own style.
Your own style.
Yes.
And I know you were talking about shadowing and light and how it hits the faces.
Yes.
And the room and all.
Yes.
So you're working on more of, instead of a flat painting, more depth.
Yeah.
Yes.
More of the slide between the dark and the light. Not exactly like the one dark and one hand playing together. More of the slide between, so the lighter to darker slow movement,
Right. So you're elevating yourself, and then I think eventually you will. I think your dream, you have told me, is to have an art room in Manhattan, or at least Brooklyn.
Yeah. Even the beginning. Right now, that would be. It's so relaxed being able to do it there, because sometimes painting at home, it doesn't feel alive.
You want to be in that atmosphere.
Like just a room, or because me, if I have any other paintings, or drop it, or my hand, I drop it on the ground.
You can't get messy, huh?
Yeah.
You have to worry about your house.
Yeah. So
which we should tell everyone that it took years, but Robert got his driver's license. He has his own home. In the Beacon Falls Trailer Park, and he has a beautiful trailer there, a beautiful house, a ranch. It's like a man cave, and with artwork all over the place and paintbrushes everywhere and all.
Too many.
Too many. Yes, I know you. When I walk in the door, Robert, I can barely get through there. Well, we talked about this painting. Tell me something here. I see skulls and teeth. I know you do that. What are any thoughts about the teeth there? Something going to bite you?
No.
No, it's not that simple.
It's more the different type of, all different types in this area here. I mean, what's in the mind? Is it this? On the way, around at the house, or is it that, or the next one, or
like the teeth are like all in a row.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, now that brings me to a little character that you've created.
Ooh. Yeah.
And I want you to talk a little bit about this little character. We can't tell too much about it because it's going to be a surprise. Someday. So we're not going to talk. It's almost finished. It's a work in progress.
Yes, I have to paint.
Okay. We aren't even going to tell you what this little rabbit's name is.
Why not?
Should we? All right. We don't want anyone to steal it. Remember that the name of this little bunny, you heard it for the first time here on Town Talk.
Well, I think we as though your music, you put on somewhat to make it your own, so no one can steal it.
Right, you're going to put a patent on it.
Well, we patent.
Oh,
I believe so.
Oh, Doug, see how important an independent living skills teacher is, and Robert could only have that with the ABI waiver program one, and now because of funds in Connecticut and all. They're trying to cut these programs, which is a shame. It's a shame. I don't know how far Robert would have gotten without it. All right, tell us this little bunny rabbit. Here, put your sunglasses on. I want them to see the... do you have your sunglasses with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to show the whole thing with the rabbit and Robert and your guitar. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah.
Hold the guitar.
All right. See?
I don't know. You kind of look like your bunny.
I'm Bunny.
You're the bunny?
I'm Falter.
You're Falter?
Yeah.
Say the rabbit's name again.
Falter.
Fal-
Faltor.
Falter.
He's Falter.
Okay. And why is he Falter?
Well, because he fell.
Because he fell. Okay, that's right.
You know?
And there he is, just like you. Now, we talked about you writing,
Yeah.
your writing skills.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell a little bit about what you're working on right now, along with mostly your painting, but this is coming along. It's just about done, and all your illustrations are done.
Yes, this book is complete the way it's written about it, but I need to continue the painting
Of the different characters.
of the characters.
Now, you wrote the book yourself, right?
Yeah.
So some of your writing skills are coming back with the help of your independent living skills teacher who edits it for you and looks at it.
Yeah.
But basically, it's your thoughts, your writing, and how you put words together. And I know I've read some of it, and it does flow an awful lot like the style you had when you were in grammar school and before your accident. I can say that to the audience. So why don't you just... I think Falter is a metaphor for Robert, and it's a children's book.
Yes, that's why he has, it's acoustic.
Yeah, he has his acoustic, right?
And he...
In his sunglasses.
Well, those are his regular glasses.
Oh, those are his... Oh, that's right,
So you
because
can
he
see-
hurt it. Well, he got hurt.
Yeah.
He ventured out.
Just
I'll
the
let
way
you
he
just
is.
tell the first opening, and we won't do much more than that because we'll get in trouble with your independent living skills teacher who has a writing background. He has his own magazine and things. He might get angry with us because we're telling too much about a book that's going to get published, but for children. But anyway, let's just open one of the first scenes with Falter and say what happens to him. He's in his rabbit hole.
He's in his rabbit hole, and he heard some noises. So he went up, crawled up, looked outside to see what
I
the
can
noise.
just picture his little head sticking out of the hole.
Little-
Show us. Yeah, okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. So he's just
Okay.
And then hit a big tire from those, because, well, we'll say a big tire hit him in his noggin,
A big tire.
big truck tire,
Oh.
and that was his. And he rolled down.
He rolled down back. He
Back
was
home.
knocked out.
Yep, and he had his own dream state like I did.
His own dream state, like you did.
Yeah.
And you talk about him, and then it goes on with his life and all the other animals he meets along the way.
Yeah.
And Robert is
Yes,
just...
he needs to relearn, as though I did, has to relearn what happened,
And you've done all the illustrations. I know you have a skunk in there and some pigs and all kinds of things. So we won't say too much more about the book, except that it's just about finished, and when the time comes, it will be published somewhere. And we'll talk more about that. But that's Falter, the rabbit.
Walter.
Falter. Now, I want to show our audience.
Oh.
I don't take this picture out often, and because it's very difficult to look at. But I want people to get an understanding of what you see Robert here 16 years later, and what he looked like while he was at Gaylord. Robert's accident was in July 1998. He was in a coma for 10 days. And then Gaylord decided, because they make a decision, they come to the hospitals and they decide who they're going to accept into their program. And for Rob's father and I, we were praying Gaylord would accept him because they have such a good background in helping people through rehabilitation. And we were on pins and needles hoping they would accept him. And they did accept him, and he was there for 7 months. He entered Gaylord, I would say around August, mid-August of 1998, and he left 7 months later and to come home with us. But this picture was taken in October 1998. Robert was out of his coma, but for a long, long time, all he could do was open and close his eyes. He really couldn't say much, talk. He didn't know who we were. He was paralyzed on his right side. I can go on and on. We were very afraid, his father and I and the whole family, that Robert would never know who he was or know us or even be at a level of consciousness that he even knew what room he was in. But by October, he was sitting up with some support in a chair. Some of his hair had grown back in because he had long hair at the time of his accident, and they had to cut it all off. So up above here, I'm going to talk through this, and I'll give us a chance. This gentleman, this was October 1998, and this gentleman is Joe, and Joe was one of the patients at Gaylord along with Robert. And Robert was only just starting to sit up in a chair. You see he's got a belt. Robert is the fellow in the dark shirt with his finger pointed, and he's got a strap around him holding him in the chair. And this is what my Robert looked like at Gaylord. His hair had been growing in. They had shaved his hair off in July, completely shaved his head so that they could do the operation that night, and he was in the accident. And there's my Robert, and this is what he looked like. And I'm not going to say any more about it. I'll just let the camera be on that picture a minute and then switch to Robert. I want people to understand the patience and the agony and how much we went through with Robert. And there he is. He didn't really even know who he was, and he couldn't speak yet, but he could point, and he was pointing to his friend. The picture in the middle was taken of Robert. You can see how even with his paralysis of his face, he still could pose for the camera as a model. And one day in the living room, he went into one of his model poses of several years ago, and there he is. And the bottom picture here is taken August 5th, I think, 1998. And the gentleman in the wheelchair is his cousin, Nick Martin. Nick had sustained a terrible concussion on his head. He was pretty well badly hurt himself, so much so that he was still in a wheelchair in August, but he had not needed surgery. He didn't get a blood clot, so he didn't have that kind of brain injury that Robert had. And that's Nick's mother, Eileen Martin, and that might be his sister, Christine, yes. And over here you can see a railing. And that's the bed Robert was laying in. Well, Robert heard Nick coming down the hall, and he heard Nick's voice in the room. And at that point, Robert was still in what we considered a deep coma. His eyes were not open yet, nothing. He was just laying there in the bed. Yes, all the tubing out of his head was taken out, his trach was out and all, and he had a feeding tube in him and all, but he was still conscious. Well, when he heard Nick's voice, Robert's eyes opened that day in the bed. For one split second, his head moved forward a little and his hand went out to Nick. And then Robert went unconscious again. Well, I was in the room with him. His father wasn't there. And I have to tell you all very quickly, because you might as well know the whole story. I ran around the room like a maniac, screaming at the top of my lungs, "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus." So much so that the nurses came running down the hall to see what was going on in the room. They thought something happened to Robert. And when they saw that his eyes had opened and closed, they left the room. So that was a red letter day. I want everybody to know this because I advocate for brain injury, and you know I've had people on the show that do the same. They want to take these programs away. They want to save money. They have no idea what would have happened to Robert had he had to go to a convalescent home. And by the way, he wasn't progressing at Gaylord. He was progressing so slowly that they wanted to take him into a convalescent home, and I had to fight that because you don't get to pick the home you want either. But that's another whole story. Robert came this far because he has people, and I'm going to say first names. He has people like Lisa, who is a provider of the ABI Waiver 1 program. He has people like Fred, who's his vocational trainer, who's with him 2 days a week. He has people like Doug, who's an independent living skills teacher who teaches him his art and all that and takes him to Manhattan. This program may not last 2 years. Robert may be without it. And all I ever wanted for my Robert, as you see here, is what I've said before on this program, what Governor Malloy's mother wanted for him. She wanted him to be the best he could be with his disability. And every mother wants their child to be the best that they can be, whatever God gave them, or what is ever left of them.
Well, at least if it does, say you're saying 2 years,
yes,
goes away.
It could.
It is, at least my mind has gone up.
Well,
to
that's
do it
right.
myself. You know?
You hear what my Robert is saying? The program has given him hope that he may not even need it someday.
Mm-hmm.
He's prepared to face life alone. Well, what about all the people there that haven't gotten that far yet, that could have gotten that far, but will end up warehoused in a convalescent home if this program doesn't stay in place? We are fighting our hearts out not to lose our independent living skills teachers, not to lose the providers, not to lose the people that are all around Robert, not to lose one of his most important people, his neuropsychologist behavioralist, who is the hub of Robert's program. And I'm going to name him Tariq, and that's his first name, Dr. I call him Dr. T. We're going to lose all these people. And then what happens? So, Robert, we're almost at the end of the show, and what I'm going to ask you to do is play a little more of your music, and we're going to just sit here quietly listening to you play your guitar.
Oh, no.
What would your last word want to be? Because we only have about 3 minutes now.
Well, I'm not a young child any longer.
How old are you, Robert?
Well, don't I have to...
Yeah, say. Go ahead.
40.
You're 40 years old. You were 23 when you had the accident.
People who know me have known me since I was 2 or 1.
A little baby.
Or,
you have a lot of friends,
like,
yes.
Like Nick,
Your cousin Nick,
Yeah.
who's gone on to be still a musician.
Yeah.
Can you play something for us, Robert, on our way out? I'm going to just say goodbye from Town Talk, and we're just going to listen to Rob as we leave.
Let's see.
All right, go ahead, Rob.
Go
Play
ahead,
something.
yeah.
These are some of his originals. Robert has played guitar since he was 7, and he knows music theory.
Let's see. Let's see.